Good morning. I'm in the studio today. I really wanted to try something new, so I ordered something fun online. And I'm having a friend come over just to play with me in the studio a bit because I just wanted to try this cool thing that I saw. I think I saw it on TikTok. Got this cellophane and we're gonna play around with it in the studio with some portraits. Aren't those colors so cool? So I'm excited. Okay, let's just try. Does it not look like a goddess from the 90s? Even like your hair.
I love those.
How fun.
Yay!
I'm reading this book called The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. And this is genuinely one of the most beautiful books I think I've ever read. It talks a lot about the correlation between creativity, spirituality, and that creativity isn't just something we should express in order to be productive, but something for joy. And that joy as human beings is our deepest purpose. So I want to read this little section that I just loved so much, especially for people like me who are constantly feeling like your work isn't good enough, or you're too scared to start something, or you don't fully believe that you're a creative person, or you're a perfectionist with your work, anything like that. I just want to read this little section for you. While the emotional undercurrents of self-doubt can serve the art, they can also interfere with the creative process. Beginning a work, completing a work, sharing a work. These are key moments where many of us become stuck. How do we move forward considering the stories we tell ourselves? One of the best strategies is to lower the stakes. We tend to think that what we're making is the most important thing in our lives and that it's going to define us for all eternity. Consider moving forward with the more accurate point of view that it's a small work, a beginning. The mission is to complete the project so you can move on to the next. The next one is a stepping stone for the following work, and so it continues in a productive rhythm for the eternity of your creative life. All art is a work in progress. It is helpful to see the piece we're working on as an experiment, one in which we can't predict the outcome. Whatever the result, we will receive useful information that will benefit the next experiment. If you start from the position that there's no right or wrong, no good or bad, and creativity is just free play with no rules, it's easier to submerge yourself joyfully in the process of making things. We're not playing to win, we're playing to play. Ultimately, playing is fun. Perfectionism gets in the way of fun. A more skillful goal might be to find comfort in the process, to make and put out successive works with ease. Oscar Wilde said that some things are too important to be taken seriously. Art is one of those things. Setting the bar low, especially to get started, frees you to play, explore, and test without attachment to results. This is not just a path to more supportive thoughts. Active play and experimentation until we're happily surprised is how the best work reveals itself. I feel this so deeply because before I started my photography business, I spent years with a camera in my hand all the time, everywhere I went, just because it was fun. I spent hours editing pictures on, what was it called? PicMonkey or something like that. They were terrible. When I look back, those pictures were so shit. But just giving myself the permission to play and experiment and spend time on it, it brought me so much joy. And it gave me so much sanity in a time where I was really struggling. So I just wanted to read that and say, if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling unfulfilled, it doesn't necessarily need to be a whole career change, but it could just be something that you're doing in your free time that just feels like play. And if you have no idea what that is, That's so exciting because that means you get to go out and experiment and figure out what that is. A good place to start is to think about what you liked when you were little. All right, that's it from me. I'm gonna go to bed. Good night. All week this week I've been feeling very introverted, and then today I started my period, and so now I'm not wondering why anymore I'm feeling so introverted. I'm supposed to be at a birthday party right now, but I just was not physically, mentally, emotionally feeling ready for it. In the place for a birthday party, you know what I mean? And I'm trying to get better at setting those types of boundaries when I'm not feeling like I can fulfill some kind of social obligation in the way that I would like to, when I feel like I can't show up because I'm not feeling well or whatever. Past me would just, you know, push past it, ignore it, just go anyways. I'm trying not to do that anymore because that just creates more stress. And I feel like I don't show up as my best self anyways. So like, who is that serving? You know what I mean? But one thing I kind of want to talk about is something I've really been working on in myself, which is my relationship with money. This has been such an intense thing for me to try and heal because I can't think of a time in my life before now where I felt financially safe. I grew up in a very poor household. My teenage years were with a single mother who financially struggled, and then I entered into a marriage where I was expected to be the breadwinner. And for 10 years, it was just like an intense stress and pressure on me to pay the bills essentially by myself. And you know what? That is messed up. And I feel like looking back, it's almost like I repeated a cycle of financial instability. It's almost like that's where I felt more comfortable, so that's where I stayed. At the beginning of 2020, I remember this memory so vividly. It was February 2020, and one of my favorite singers in the whole world, Sarah Bareilles, wrote a Broadway musical called Waitress, and she was going to be starring in Waitress in London for 1 month in February 2020. And I wanted to go so bad. I felt so emotionally attached to this musical, which I didn't understand why at the time, but now looking back, it's a musical about a woman who feels stuck in a marriage that isn't right for her, didn't know how she was going to get out of it, and used this one beautiful skill she had, which was baking pies, and used that skill to get out of the relationship. Which, like, how funny is that looking back now that I've used my photography for the same thing? But if you're not familiar with the musical, go listen to the Sarah Bareilles version of She Used to Be Mine. Oh my God, that song can make me cry so easily. It's basically a song all about how she's completely lost herself and how she doesn't know how to find herself again. And it's literally so beautiful. You need to listen to it. I just couldn't afford to go at the time. And I was so upset and devastated, like working my ass off for what? I can't even afford to go to London for the weekend, which a flight from Zurich to London on a weeknight was like, I think it was like 100 francs or something. It wasn't anything crazy. And I just felt like, what am I working for if I can't even do this one little thing for myself? And it was such an emotionally charged thing for me. It wasn't just going to see a musical. It was being able to be a free, autonomous adult. And I didn't feel like I was. So I kind of just spontaneously one day, I think it was like a Wednesday afternoon, I was like, you know what? I'm going. And I booked the flight. I booked the cheapest Airbnb I could find. And I went. And I went by myself. And I was in London for literally less than 24 hours. It was my first time solo traveling, except coming to and from the US. I was terrified. I couldn't even afford to get a taxi from the hotel to the theater. I had to take the train, and I was so scared of getting lost. I remember literally sprinting from the train to the theater because I had minutes before they were going to shut the door, and my Google Maps kept rerouting and like telling me to go in different directions. I was so terrified I was gonna miss it. I ran in the door. They closed the doors behind me. I was dripping in sweat. I feel like I got one of the best seats in the house because I booked a single ticket. It was the front row of the balcony seats. And I sobbed through that whole musical. Every single song spoke directly to me. I got to hear Sarah Bareilles live. It was one of those like soul awakening moments for me. And I'm honestly so grateful to have that memory. But fast forward, when I left that marriage and I left the Mormon church and I felt like I had nothing to show for my 20s. I had no education. I had barely any German language skills. I felt like all of my resources went to someone else and nothing went to me. And I felt like, how on earth am I going to catch up? The phrase that was constantly coming to my mind was catching up to the rest of society, because I feel like being a woman in the Mormon church, it's a little bit old-fashioned. The women stay home a lot more often than anywhere else, and kind of felt like I was joining modern society for the first time in my life. And I was making new friends for the first time outside of the church, and I was creating a community outside of the church for the first time. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, these women have careers. I had this little tiny photography business and I was like, I will never catch up. And now I feel like I'm sitting at this place where I've fully caught up. My career is just as valid and earning just as much as anyone else. And I just feel really proud that not only was I able to do that, but I was able to overcome this pattern that I had with money of kind of giving my power away to other people. And I really feel like I've taken that power back for myself to have financial freedom and to feel financially safe, which is something that I had never felt before and didn't know if it was possible for me to ever attain. I don't know. I was just pondering about that tonight and thought I would tell you about it. It's the weekend. We're going away for the weekend. We're going to Interlaken, Switzerland with some friends. Also, my boyfriend's name is Mark. I don't know if I should like introduce him here, but I'm with him all the time, so he's gonna be around. I just haven't decided how to do that yet.